Hello and welcome to another shipwreck video. Today we are on the west side of the Lizard and we're going to be showing you a new shipwreck site which we've only recently discovered. So today's wreck is called the Abernyte and it went aground right here on Rill Head in 1898. The sailing bark Abernyte was built in Glasgow in 1875 and used as a general cargo ship by P. Henderson & Co. between the UK and New Zealand. Abernyte left Chile in December 1897 with a cargo of nitrate on a 6-month journey to arrive in Falmouth by May 1898. After passing the Isles of Scilly, the ship got lost in dense fog, and on the night of the 7th of May she ran straight into the cliffs at Rill Head on the west side of the Lizard, with no loss of life. This photo was taken shortly after the vessel came ashore and shows how quickly ships are ripped to pieces along this stretch of coastline. After identifying which gully the photo was taken, myself and Chris decided to go take a look at the Abernyte remains and see if anything survives today. We start in the main gully, where we find the remains of the ship's anchor chain and then the main anchor itself. There is very little else remaining here, so we extend the search further offshore. It's further out we find several gullies rammed with steel remains. This is most likely the hull material, which has collapsed and been broken down by the sea over the last 120 plus years. Few identifiable features remain, although we do discover a few small finds. A single brass porthole sticks up out of the wreckage here, and nearby a crushed mass of thin copper, which may have been part of a pot with a brass handle. The biggest surprise is the discovery of a large iron cannon, seemingly within the wreck. This is unusual, as a ship of this age would not have been armed with any muzzle-loading iron guns. We return another day, this time with Dave, to show him this mystery cannon find. This time we start the dive on the deeper offshore section and set about relocating the gun. With a fresh tank of air, we spend the dive hand excavating around the cannon. After clearing around it, it becomes apparent that the iron gun is actually within the Abernyte's remains, and not below it as we first suspected. You can actually see mild steel fragments within the concretions built up on the corroded gun, and pieces of steel underneath the gun itself. There is also a long piece of steel right beside the cannon, which was likely part of the ship's outer hull, and around this we find many other lumps of cast iron and the remains of some frame supports. So we just had a really good dive on the remains of the Abernyte. It's an interesting wreck, it's very smashed up, and we relocated the old cannon, which I think is part of the ballast. It seems to be within the wreck. There's steel work all around it and underneath it, so pretty sure it was part of the ballast of the ship. I think they put an old gun in there, nice and heavy, low down. So yeah, no old site underneath it, I'm afraid, but still an interesting one. So yeah. A few weeks later, and we are in the area on an archaeological survey looking at some historic wreck sites. I mentioned to them about the old cannon amongst the more modern wreckage, and seeing as it was so close by, they thought it was worth taking a look at. You should be able to see it almost. We take detailed measurements of the gun and record its position and current condition using photogrammetry. This produces a really detailed picture of where the gun is and its surrounding area. Another interesting idea put forward was that it could actually be a signal gun that was carried on board the vessel. Although larger than most signal guns, they may have just used what was cheap or readily available at the time, as these cannons were then considered obsolete in naval warfare. So a final thing to show you is a few of the artefacts which we've recovered so far from this site. This is a hardwood deadeye, which is one of the rigging blocks used to haul the sail ropes around. We also found a collection of bits from the ship's sextant. This unfortunately was smashed to bits, but still had some identifiable parts such as the sighting tube. One of the best finds on the site was this lead sounding weight. This is a really good artefact to find because it's this actual item which is referred to in the account of the Abernyte's loss, with the inquest concluding that the captain had failed to use this enough. If he did so, he may have realised the depth of water was getting shallower, and he could have changed his course amongst the fog to a more southerly route, avoiding this spur of land where the vessel ended up being wrecked. Well, that's it for this one. Thanks for watching, and we will get some more videos put together for you again soon.